Today we're going to be talking about some of the most important enumerated powers of the President of the United States. First of all, what exactly are enumerated powers? Enumerated powers are the powers written explicitly in the U.S. Constitution. The President also has implied powers, but we won't discuss those today. The Constitution was written in 1787 by our Founding Fathers, mainly James Madison. At the time, our Founding Fathers already had the first president in mind, George Washington. Since they trusted Washington to set the proper example of a president, Madison decided not to create an exhaustive list of duties and powers. Much of the Constitution is left for interpretation. Nonetheless, there are some significant powers that the Constitution does outline, mainly found in Article 2. On a side note, we will number the powers in our video to make it easy to follow. However, the Constitution does not actually use these numbers. Alright, so what enumerated powers does the President have? Power number 1. The veto. The word veto is not actually used in the Constitution, but Article 1 does require every bill by Congress to be approved by the President. The President can do 3 things with a bill. Number 1, the President can sign the bill into law. Number 2, the President can veto the bill, meaning he returns the bill to Congress with his objections. The President has 10 days from the time he receives a bill to either sign or veto it. If the President doesn't veto the bill within the 10-day period, then the bill automatically becomes a law. But there is also a way the bill can be killed even without the President vetoing it, which leads us to number 3. The President neither signs the bill nor returns it to Congress, but if Congress adjourns within the 10-day period, then the bill automatically dies. This is known as a pocket veto. Pocket vetoes can be used by presidents to influence legislation without taking official action. A famous example is when Abraham Lincoln pocket vetoed the Wade-Davis Bill of 1864. Some presidents have used their veto power sparingly. Thomas Jefferson was only 2-term president to never veto a bill. On the other hand, the president who holds the record for most vetoes used is FDR. He used an astounding 635 vetoes during his 3 terms as president. Power number 2. The President is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, which includes both the Army and the Navy. This means that he can send troops into any countries that make him angry. Just kidding. The President doesn't make all the decisions when it comes to the troops. Only Congress has the constitutional power to declare war. Power number 3. The President can also grant pardons for offenses, unless the President has been impeached himself. With pardons, the President can either, number 1, grant a full pardon, meaning the convicted person will be totally forgiven for the crime and receive 0 punishment. Number 2, the President can lessen the person's punishment from, say, 10 years to 5 years. Or number 3, the President can drop fines. One notable example is President Gerald Ford's pardon of Richard Nixon for the Watergate scandal. Power number 4. The President can make treaties so long as they're ratified by the Senate. Although the Senate needs a 2/3 vote to formally ratify treaties, the President is given the power by the Constitution to propose and make negotiations between the U.S. and other countries. This means the President is the one making the backdoor deals and bargains with the other country's leaders in order to build relationships. When a treaty with another country is ratified, it is still within the confines of federal law. Congress has oversight of treaties and the proper execution of them. Power number 5. The President can make appointments. The President can appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and judges of the Supreme Court. There are 9 Supreme Court justices, 1 Chief Justice, and 8 Associate Justices. A recent example of the power to appoint justices is President Obama's successful appointment of the first Hispanic justice, Sonia Sotomayor. The President can also appoint many other federal positions. The most senior appointed officers form the President's cabinet. No, not that kind of cabinet. The President's cabinet are the major leaders of the executive branch, including such officers as the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and Attorney General. It is important to note that the President's nominations do not become appointments without the advice and consent of the Senate. This means presidential appointments must be confirmed by the Senate. This is one way the legislative branch checks the executive branch. Power number 6. The President may fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate by granting commissions which shall expire at the end of their next session. Wait, what does all that mean? The Constitution requires that the President's appointments of the most senior federal officers must be confirmed by the Senate. But, while the Senate is in recess, the President can act alone and make recess appointments. Recently, President Obama got into trouble for filling up vacancies while the Senate was in recess. His appointments of Richard Cordray and others to the National Labor Relations Board were found unconstitutional by the U.S. Appeals Court for the District of Columbia. Finally, power number 7. The President may also give information to Congress about the State of the Union. Every year, the President is expected to express his legislative goals to Congress and call attention to policy areas that are in need of solutions. The State of the Union address is usually delivered once a year, but FDR sets a record for giving 12 State of the Union speeches during his 3 terms as president. And actually, the State of the Union doesn't have to be a speech. It can be written up and sent to Congress, which Thomas Jefferson did. Now you know the most important enumerated powers of the U.S. President. As you can see, the President is a very powerful person. We hope you learned a lot from this video. Thanks for watching.